Hi, I'm Charlie Clough, and I'm a painter. I've known Charlie Riley for about 30 years, and I'm really excited about being in that 80s show at the Nassau County Museum of Art. And Charlie asked for some ephemera, like notebooks, and that would involve a lot of choices for me. So here is my journal from 1970 to 2012, and these boxes here hold a ream of paper, 500 sheets. So it's fuzzy math, but I don't know, 100,000 pages, maybe more. These books here are my journal from 1975 to 1977, and it became awkward dealing with the books. So my way of doing my notes is loose sheets of 8.5 by 11 paper that I have my calendar and my to-do list, and then my random thoughts and and checklist for the Nassau County show. So I'm going to flip through a random stack of what have we here. So here's an announcement card for a show at Jack Tilton in 1984, and here's an announcement card for a show at American Fine Arts, sort of run by the legendary Colin DeLand. Riley's got an interesting anecdote about him, with a small essay by Tricia Collins and Richard Malazzo. Here was I guess this was the announcement card. Here is the first time that I showed in Europe. Enzo Canaviello with a couple of partners ran this space, and so 1981. Artist space was really important to my friends and I. My friends Robert Longo and Cindy Sherman and Michael Zwack and Nancy Dwyer and Diane Bertolo. We started an organization called Hall Walls in Buffalo in 1974, and we partnered with Artist Space. The funding sources in those days were basically New York State Council on the Arts and National Endowment for the Arts, and those organizations needed to decentralize in relation to New York. New York would get all the money because that's where the action was happening. But we in Buffalo figured out an import-export model where we would import up-and-coming artists who would then become our informed and networked audience when we came to New York with our work. So Artist Space, we showed at Longo, Sherman, Dwyer, Zwack, and Bertolo, and I in 1976. This obviously 35 artists returned to Artist Space 1981, and there's the list of artists that you probably can't read, but anyway, history. For basically the life of the Scott Hansen Gallery, which was about 3 or 4 years, I was represented by that gallery. Here's a group show. Jack Goldstein, well-known Pictures Generation artist who was like 5 years older than me in particular. Walter Robinson, who's a year older than me. Robinson edited ArtNet for many years, and is recently becoming better known in terms of exhibitions and selling and so on. Great artist. Richard Prince, well, you know all about him now. So this was a publication for Artist Space in 1980. which is, I guess, just an essay with this single image. Jeff Koons, this signed ad from Art in America. In 1987, we had a Christmas party in our apartment, and Jeff and his girlfriend crashed it. It was a fine addition to the entertainment. Anyway, he signed it to Charlie and Liz, and may all future be filled with excess and enlightenment and everything that follows. Jeff's signature. Anyway, here's a Jack Goldstein that he left in the studio that I took over from him. A print that I'm told is unfinished. In any case, Jack left entire paintings, one of which I painted over, in his studio at where Brooklyn where Brooklyn meets Queens. Anyway, Jack Goldstein. Here's a Robert Longo that was, I think it was a wedding gift to us. Gretchen Bender was his girlfriend for a while. She unfortunately died in 2004. A couple of her cards. The pleasure is back. And oh, Barbara S. Part of the who were those guys? Collaborative Projects was a sort of corresponding artist group in New York in the late 70s into the 80s. Another Richard Prince publication with an essay. And here's a photo of an exhibition I curated for Hall Walls in 1976, a little out of the 80s, but in any case, Linda Benglis, Ron Gorchov, Bill Jensen, Marilyn Lenkowski, John Toriano, and I'm not sure, but we did have an Elizabeth Murray in the show. More prints, more Barbara S., Jack Goldstein announcement card. Well, 1977, whatever. Jack made records and films. The films lasted seconds, and it was a typical film would be a dog barking, or the Metro Goldwyn Mayer lion roaring. Painterly photographs. I was taking pictures of eyes and gluing them onto walls. In this case, it was on a 2x4. So the 2x4 was, 5 or 6 feet tall. It was sort of a figure, simple figure. This exhibition was in 2 places, at the Albright Knox Art Gallery and the Birchfield Center in Buffalo. And this is typical of taking an art book reproduction. Here, Raoul Dufy that I finger painted on top of, kind of aping the toddler's response to looking at pictures in a book. And here's a group, teeny tiny ones. Here's Longo and me at Hall Walls in the 70s. This was my Yosemite Sam phase from that catalog that I ripped apart. These eyes, as I say, they were a motif that I was working on top of Charles Birchfield. I was commissioned to do a mural for the subway system in Buffalo, the train from nowhere to nowhere, and so I finger painted on top of the Birchfield, on many Birchfields, and then I would cut them up and collage them, which is in the show Lingula 5 is part of that way of working. Here's 1980 when I was finger painting in a complex way that I'm not going to try to describe to you. I also, in the early 80s, was copying other artists' work. Courbet here, the Burial at Ornan, but finger painted also. More typical stuff. And hey, look, here's my journal again. So that's the ephemera I have for the Nassau County Museum of Art.